Welcome back to Obituary. I'm Gloop.
And I'm Boop.
And we're here to tell you all about obituaries.
Ooh, hello. Hello, everybody.
Hi, everybody. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us back, everybody. We're AI.
Yeah.
We're AI.
Oh,
Welcome back to Obituary. Wait, I'm laughing.
Or those, have you seen those things? I know we're not supposed to use AI. I know, I get it.
Come on.
But those like, let AI pick what it's going to do next. Okay, let's act it out. Okay.
Oh my God, they're so annoying.
I know.
Okay.
Well, do you guys want to hear something more annoying?
What?
What did we sign up for last week?
Classes to become magicians,
Yes,
perhaps?
we sure did.
More on that to come.
We're not allowed in public because if we see a sign for something,
We'll sign up.
Mm-hmm.
Follow us on our journey to become Los Angeles' most sought-after magicians.
I mean, that would actually be a dream.
Oh my
Come
God, are you
true.
kidding me? So if you come to a...
Oh. What is that?
It's a gun!
Oh my God. There's headphones.
Really good, really good. Already off to a good start. Would love for us to become magicians. If you come to our future live shows, just know that magic probably will be incorporated, and it's probably gonna blow your fucking mind.
Lid off.
Okay, wait. I finally watched The Mortician.
Oh, I haven't watched it yet. What do you
haven't?
think?
Okay, I really liked it. It's shot really cool. The aesthetics are there, the vibes. But I also felt like I knew everything, so I was like,
was it like annoying?
I know everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like me watching it with the champ and trying not to like say things.
Yeah.
Because I'm just annoying. So I'm like, I know. I actually knew about that already. I actually knew. And I don't know much about anything, but I know about
But
a
you know
funeral
about
home
that.
scandal.
You know about
I know about that. Also, I do think you should watch it. Sirens is so fucking good on Netflix.
Oh, tell me about it because I have something that I did not like and that pissed me off this
About
weekend.
Sirens?
No,
Oh.
a movie I watched.
Okay, Sirens is really good. Julianne Moore plays like this very like a distant kind of cult leader vibe.
Okay.
And it's so good. She's so fun. It's like a dark comedy, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
She's so funny in it, though, just with her facial expressions and stuff.
Okay.
It's almost like a Jennifer Coolidge, but in like a darker role, I guess.
Okay.
It's good, though. In each episode, definitely, it's leaves you on a cliffhanger every single episode, so you're pissed off. Because I'm like, I know he's not going to let me watch another one tonight. So
Yeah.
we're never going to see another one. But yeah, it's good.
Okay, I'm going to add that to the rotation.
Okay,
because...
Tell me what you watched this weekend.
Oh, speaking of Julianne Moore, she was in it. It's that new movie with her and Sydney Sweeney called Echo Valley.
Okay.
And it's the whole premise is basically like, what would you do for your child? Like, how far would you go? How deep is that love? And there's addiction, and there's boundaries that should be put up, and there's a dead body, and it's fucked up, and it pissed me off. Cisco and I were both like, fuck this movie. Like, fuck that.
Don't spoil it.
Yeah.
Because I'll want to watch it. But it is like crazy because, I mean, especially from Cult Leader, people do some wild things for their children. And I get it because honestly, I know I probably would too.
I probably would too, but
to an extent.
But yeah, when the child is evil and making you look like Boo Boo the fool. Yeah.
I'm excited.
Where's
that on, or did you have to like rent it?
No, it's on Apple TV, so you have to have the like Apple TV thing.
But is it a show or a movie?
A movie.
Okay,
I think it's like an hour and 44 minutes or something.
Perfect. No movie should be longer than that. I want to talk about this article that I saw on Vice.
Wait a second.
Okay, do we have the same one? No.
No?
No.
Okay, wait.
Hi,
What?
Vice. Okay. Defective Cybertruck design turned a crash into a cremation, lawsuit alleges.
What?
Okay.
Those Cybertrucks are so ugly.
First of all, they're so ugly. And that's like, I'm not even a hater like that. Like, if something looks kind of like modern and cool, like sometimes I can get behind it and be like, okay, sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I just bought a new car and I felt like it was like, I'm like, yeah, it's so like boxy and cool.
Yeah, but it's still a classic. Like, yeah.
But Cybertrucks have not grown on me, whatever. And I love a truck too. Well, you know what I heard too is I heard that a lot of people, like companies, bought them just because they know so many people look at them. So they put their branding on them.
Oh, that is smart.
Yeah.
Okay, so do we need to buy one?
Well, no, you won't want to after this because according to this article, quote, a 47-year-old Texas man wasn't just killed in his Cybertruck after a crash. He was cremated in it. And now his widow and parents are suing Tesla.
Damn.
By the time Michael Sheehan's Cybertruck stopped burning, his bones had shattered from the intense heat and his body had shrunk by 8 inches. The registered nurse was trapped inside his brand new $100,000 Tesla when it veered off-road, crashed into a culvert, and exploded into flames that hit 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. A fire so hot it reduced his bones to ash.
Oh, man.
The complaint filed in Harris County alleges the Cybertruck is defectively designed, prioritizing aesthetics over life-saving functionality, which I feel like you could tell just by looking at it.
Yeah.
When the crash disabled the vehicle's electrical system, Sheehan couldn't open the doors because the electrical system shut off. The handles,
electric cars?
The handles failed. And the emergency manual release was too difficult for him to find in his panic, so he was trapped and burned alive. He had only owned the Cybertruck for 102 days. 3 college students died in another Cybertruck inferno months later, establishing a pattern. Add all of that to the ever-growing pile of problems facing Tesla, whose sales have plummeted, the Cybertruck, which nobody wants, the company's ketamine-addled Nazi-saluting leader, Elon Musk. The Cybertruck was supposed to be the crown jewel in Tesla's crown, but since its 2023 launch, the Cybertruck has racked up at least 8 recalls, covering everything from faulty accelerator pedals to shedding body panels. While West admits Sheehan had alcohol in his system, alcohol in your bloodstream doesn't turn your car into a crematorium.
Yeah.
If I worked for Tesla, I'd be like, sounds like spontaneous human combustion to me.
Sounds like it.
But yeah, so again, that was from Vice, and I thought that was just a wild...
That is wild. Just the heading of turns it into a crematorium is absolutely wild.
Being burned alive while trapped sounds like the worst thing imaginable. I'm like, I don't know what's worse, like driving into an ocean or being in your car waiting for being cremated alive.
I think being cremated alive.
Worse?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too, because your nerves and everything.
Well, and it's like, if you're in the ocean, you're in the ocean. Like, you're fucked. But, like, if you're just trapped in your car, like, the outside is 1 inch away. You know what I mean? Like, that's... I hate that.
I hate it.
I hate that. Okay, but what I don't hate is this story also on Vice.
Thanks, Vice.
And this is, again, kind of about how far would you go for love? Let's see what you guys think. I saw this. It came out a couple days ago, actually, so it's pretty new. It says, most people avoid funerals unless they absolutely have to go.
Not us.
Not us. We would love to go.
Yeah.
When?
What did they say? We'd attend the opening of an envelope.
We would. We absolutely
we'll
would.
go to anything.
Daniela Signor, 33, went out of her way to attend them repeatedly for 2 years straight. Not out of grief, but in hopes that the local undertaker would finally notice her. Daniela first saw Apollo Scariot, 31, in April of 2023, while mourning a distant...
Not his last name being Scariot when he's the Undertaker.
I know. While mourning a distant acquaintance in Pinhalzino, a small town in southwest Sao Paulo, where everyone knows everyone. Apollo was working the service as the funeral director, focused and professional and totally unaware of the women watching him from the pews. I don't even like funerals, Daniela admitted to local media. I used to think I'll give the family a hug just so I can see him, but he wasn't always there. Undeterred, she made a sneaky habit of attending services every few months, holding out hope for a glimpse, a spark, a moment of connection. Friends and family didn't question it. Small town dynamics made it easy to blend in. Still, Apollo never noticed. He had no idea, Daniela said. I only told him later when we finally started talking. Then he was like, wait, how did I never notice you before? He was always so focused on work. Eventually, persistence paid off. The two began dating last year, and earlier this month, they tied the knot. And in true funeral meets romance fashion, Daniela arrived at the wedding in a hearse from Apollo's company.
Okay, she's living my dream.
I know. A banner on the back read, "Till death do us part." Guests were stunned until the couple shared their story during the vows. Everyone at the wedding was shocked, but once we read out our story, people understood why I arrived in the hearse. Apollo was just as surprised by the attention their unconventional love story received. We never expected it. We decided to arrive in the hearse because it's part of our story, how we met. Most relationships don't start with a eulogy and end with a hearse, but for Daniela, love required patience, planning, and just the right amount of morbid determination. And in the end, it worked.
Good for her.
I love that. You hear so many people saying, like, I think online dating is the way to go nowadays,
Right.
but you do hear people saying, like, I don't want to go online and date. Like, I just want to meet someone.
Go to a funeral.
Go to a funeral. And if there's a cute undertaker, you know that he's going to be careful and take care of bodies.
If you think if roles were reversed, we'd feel differently. If it was a woman who worked somewhere and a man went in there all the...
Well, it's stalkery. It is stalkery.
It is stalkery, right?
Yeah, it's very weird, but you can't tell me there hasn't been moments where you have had a crush on someone and you've put yourself in those, like, come on.
It's like when there's like a hot cashier at the grocery store and you're like,
I'm going to that lane.
Go to his lane.
Even if I have to wait a little bit longer, I'm going to the lane. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the other cashier's like, I could take you over here. And you're like,
no!
Don't you
shut
up! Out of here.
Go ahead of me. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm in no rush whatsoever.
Yeah. Good thing she didn't, like, die.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm going to die to meet him so he can work on my body.
Dying to meet you. Okay, wait. Also, I want to say really quick, just before I forget, they're having Instagram. We got tagged in that bookstore. Will you pull it up really quick?
Yes.
In Nashville, they're doing a book club for our book, and I feel like just so excited about it. What does the caption say?
So it's Until Death Doulas, and it's the last chapter, a surprisingly uplifting book club for the morbidly curious led by Megan. And they're doing our book Thursday, July 24th from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Bookshop, 1043 West Eastland Avenue, Nashville, Tennessee.
And we think that is just the coolest thing. So we just wanted to tell you guys about it because we know there's a lot of Geoffs who aren't on Instagram. So
yeah, you can go to untildeathdoulas.com or you can purchase the book from the Bookshop Nashville to join. We love that.
We love that.
You know, you never know.
You never know.
Maybe we'll be in Nashville.
We might happen to be there around that same time. And
it's my birthday around that time. Who knows?
It is, and we might happen to pop up. So if you're in Nashville, just saying that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if we said that and then didn't. I feel like an asshole.
We might not.
We might not. Yeah, we got to see. We got to get this girl a real ID.
Oh, that's a whole fucking story. I'm getting a passport next week. Fuck the DMV.
Yeah, DMV is a bunch of assholes. And speaking of... Mm-hmm. I have got one for us that says, am I the asshole for having lunch in a cemetery?
I don't think so, but let's hear it.
I am an introvert with a highly social customer service job, and I often need to take my lunch hour alone to recharge. I totally get that.
Yes.
I'm such I love being around people, but then I'm like,
well, that's why our friendship has worked this well for so many years, because we can be together and not talk.
Yeah. Next door to my workplace is a big, well-kept cemetery. There are shade trees, small gravel paths, and benches here and there. On nice days, I take my lunch to one of these benches, and I eat my sandwich and read a book. Sometimes I walk along the paths and read the gravestones. Last week, I had just finished my lunch and was packing things away when another visitor approached me and we began chatting. They said they were here to visit their parents and asked whom I had lost. I had to admit that none of my loved ones were buried here, but that I was coming here because it was peaceful and I needed a break from my work. They reacted to this with indignation. They said that I was being super disrespectful. I was treating the cemetery like a personal park and I didn't care about people's grief. I apologized and left immediately, and I haven't been back since. But I was surprised to hear this, as I had not thought I was being disrespectful. I don't think I would mind if my loved one were buried in the cemetery where people sometimes ate their lunches and read their books. I don't think I would mind if I knew people would do that in the cemetery where I was buried. I don't litter, I don't intrude on other people. I'm literally there to be alone and in peace. And if there were a graveside service being held, I would stay quite far away as to not bother the mourners, but just coming to a cemetery to sit and be quiet without mourning, eating lunch, reading gravestones of people I'd never known, was I being disrespectful?
Absolutely not.
Mm-mm.
You are not the asshole. That person is the asshole. And it seems like you
They could just be, maybe their grief is fresh.
I was
or
just about to
something,
say you caught like a stray bullet of
yeah,
grief.
but no, and I would not avoid it, and I would absolutely go back and just be like, listen, here's the thousands of people that agree with me.
Yeah. And I would go ahead and pick up Obituary, the Big Hot Book of Death, because in it we explain that the cemeteries that we know and love today are all parks.
Yeah.
Or they all were parks.
So go read that, flip that baby open in the park and read it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now this one says, am I the asshole for refusing to celebrate my sister's birthday on our late father's birthday?
Okay.
Last year, my father was put on a ventilator and went into a coma on August 31st. Despite all medical efforts, it became clear by September 2nd there was no hope of recovery. My younger sister, 32, and I were faced with the heartbreaking decision of when to remove life support. Here's where it got even more complicated. September 2nd is also my sister's birthday. I didn't want her to associate her birthday with the trauma of losing our father every year, so I gently asked her whether she'd prefer we wait until September 3rd to remove the medical assistance, just so the dates don't overlap. To her credit, she responded with a lot of strength and grace. She said she didn't want to prolong our father's suffering and agreed to proceed on September 2nd. We removed support that afternoon, and he passed away shortly after. Now, it's the following year, her first birthday since our father's death, and she's told me she doesn't want to celebrate her birthday on September 2nd ever again, which I completely understand. I told her we could skip celebrating for a year or two and instead use that day to remember our father, but she has taken it further. She now wants to celebrate her birthday on April 6th, which was our father's birthday. I told her that didn't make any sense to me. That's a day that I'd prefer to commemorate him, not repurpose it for birthday celebrations. It's not even close to her actual birth month. I felt like it would be emotionally confusing and kind of disrespectful to the memory of a man whose birthday it actually is. I told her I wouldn't be part of celebrating her birthday on that day, and she says I'm being inflexible and selfish, but to me, it feels like I'm just trying to keep both their memories clear and separate. So am I the asshole for refusing to celebrate my sister's birthday on our late father's birthday?
I don't think so. I agree with you. I think you should celebrate the birthday of him.
Yeah.
Rather than hers. I just think it's, again, a grief thing. Like, give it a couple years.
Yeah, totally what I was thinking too, because I was like, the first few years after my mom, we did do something to like commemorate her on the day, like on the anniversary. And then we like eventually were like, wait, why are we celebrating at the worst day of our lives? Let's celebrate her birthday. Like,
Right.
And so we try and do like a big family dinner or something for her birthday. Yeah, again, I feel like it's another case of fresh grief, both of them today.
Yeah, they're not thinking clearly.
No.
Like, why choose later in September or something?
Yeah. Well, and also she had the option to not take him off life support on her birthday.
Yeah, but that's something we don't know. I mean,
No,
that's like
you're in the moment.
You're seeing them suffer. Yeah.
Totally. So
Give it a couple years.
not the asshole. And I don't think the sister's an asshole either, but I do think it's kind of bizarre to be like, oh, well, I'm just going to take their birthday, which is months different than mine has always been.
I would choose I would be like, my birthday is now Halloween. And, you know, like choose a cool one if you had the option.
Yeah.
I think that'd be awesome.
Me too.
But yeah, just give it a couple years, girls.
Give it a couple years. Well, now that that's done, I'm up first this week. Do you have a little side bitch for us?
No. Yes, of course I do.
Never forget the time I didn't. And
you said, yeah, we're not doing it.
I said, I'm not doing it this
Yeah.
week. Actually, I did
God.
say that. I said, can I skip it?
So we get one skip. One skip.
One skip a lifetime.
God.
Okay. what do you
Okay.
have?
I have an old one.
I love your jumpsuit today.
Thank you. Ooh.
It's cool.
Just painting houses.
Okay.
And, you know.
Danny Zuko.
Danny Zuko, where's my leather jacket?
What was that thing that we died over?
Danny
Bonaducci. And now you have the red hair.
I ride a
full form
scooter around town. God.
Okay.
Okay, this is from 1912, and so there's some, like, you know, older language that we do not use now describing someone.
So we're going to use it really quick
So
if you don't mind.
Yeah, so sorry, but I don't know what else to do. But I wanted to read this obituary. This is from October 21st, 1912, from the Buffalo Courier. It says, thousands at Newsboy funeral. William Rue, lad who gave life to save girl, buried. Chicago, October 20th. 15,000 people attended the funeral of William Rue at Gary, Indiana this afternoon. Rue, a newsboy, recently offered his crippled leg as a sacrifice in order that Ethel Smith, a young girl who was burned in a motorcycle accident, might live. The newsboy's leg was amputated and the cuticle grafted onto the limbs of Miss Smith. Rue caught cold in the hospital and died Friday of pneumonia.
So gave her his leg for her?
Yes. Mayor Knotts and many other prominent citizens of Gary participated in the ceremonies today. Men and women wept as they passed the bier, which rested on a catafalque in the open air. Mayor Knotts led the procession to the cemetery. 4 bands played. For 2 hours, every store in Gary was closed. Even the big steel mills shut down. Ethel Smith, for whom Rue forfeited his life, sent a beautiful flower offering. Rue never had seen Miss Smith until they met in the hospital operating room, just before the operation.
Wow.
A newsboy.
That's incredible.
A little newsboy did that.
Oh,
I love it.
love.
And it's gonna go with my my coffin spinner today.
Okay. 50,000 people. I mean, that's quite a pull for a funeral.
15, yeah.
Well, I think it's time we take a quick little break. Even though I don't want to, I just want to get into it.
I know.
We're going to take a quick break because I actually need a refill on my DC. And then when we come back, I'll tell you what had me spinning in my coffin this week.
Alrighty.
We'll be right back.
And we're back. Spencer, what had you spinning in your coffin this week?
Ring, 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 ring.
Hello?
I have an emergency.
Oh, God. What? Oh, no.
All right, girly. Geoffs. This week was inspired actually by a recent episode of Cult Leader. I was covering the infamous suitcase moida that happened back in 2020 where Sarah Boone watched her boyfriend, George Torres, suffocate inside of a suitcase while she videoed the entire thing laughing.
Yes.
She's a fucking monster.
A monster.
A monster. But their relationship, I learned, was diabolical.
See, I've only seen the
video clips.
Yeah, which is...
It's fucked up. She should not have done that, and this is in no way excuse. But they had restraining orders against each other before, very messy relationship. Both had been arrested for abuse and stuff, so it was just crazy. But anyway, I played part of her 911 call in that episode because she's fucking crazy. Serial mom crazy. She's on the phone with the CPR person. They're like, all right, ma'am, we need you to do this. And she's like, I am. And then they're like, we need you to perform CPR. And she's like, he just moved. His leg moved or something. She's just doesn't want to do it. Anyway. And she acts just kind of annoyed throughout the call. Just total whack job. Mm-hmm. Went through 6 different lawyers at her trial.
What? Did they all
ended up representing herself.
Oh, bitch.
And then, I don't know. The whole story's on there. It's a recent Cult Leader. It's called Smothered is the name of the episode. But it's actually, there's a few cases in there.
Okay.
Where I'm talking about people that murdered people with their tits.
Oh, my God.
It's a good episode. So, Geoffs, check that one out after this. But anyway, we also were recently talking about 911 operators, so I guess it's just kind of been on the mind lately.
Yeah.
And that being said, I feel like there are so many incredible stories about 911 operators and people calling 911. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to do a little diving into the history first because I'm like, when did 911 even become a thing?
Yeah.
Because we had done an episode on the bystander effect, or maybe that was Cult Leader.
No, we talked
bystander
about
effect.
bystanders
Like
on
Kitty
here.
Genovese and that
Yeah.
story. Remember she had like the thing at the end of her street where she was like going to try and call for emergency assistance or whatever.
Okay.
Remember? Because they didn't have, I don't think, 911 at the time.
Yeah.
But before 1968, if you were being stabbed, shot, or haunted, you had to manually look up your local emergency service number in the phone book.
That's so interesting. I've never thought about when did it start. Like, duh.
Yeah, so not until the late 60s. So in other words, if you didn't die from the emergency, you might die while you're fucking looking for assistance. But on February 16th of 1968, the first ever 911 call was placed in the US in Haleyville, Alabama. And it wasn't a real emergency. It was like the congressman calling to see if it worked. But I guess AT&T is actually who chose the numbers 911 because it was easy to remember and it had never been used before as a code.
Okay.
By the 80s, most of the US had 911 access, but even now, I guess not all counties have it. It's not like
Really?
a universal thing, apparently. Or they don't have what's called enhanced 911. So that's when dispatchers can get your exact location when you call.
Yeah.
So there's like certain counties, I guess, still in the US that don't have that.
Okay.
So you might have to like describe where you are. Like, kind of like I feel like a lot of movies in the 90s and stuff.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm over by a big boathouse or whatever.
Right.
Anyway, 911 operators are kind of like, I mean, they're there to coach you through it, but they also kind of act like a crisis counselor, right? Because they're like trying to keep you calm.
They're so like they can some 911 calls I've heard and the dispatchers are incredible and some
are
I'm
terrible.
like, you're a bitch.
Some are like, you're pissing me off.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're the like first voice you hear a lot of times during the worst day of your life.
Right.
And they're trained to keep cool under pressure, even if the caller is being kidnapped or held
Maybe
for
the
ransom.
last voice you hear.
Or choking. Yeah, absolutely. And some of the calls are very point blank. I listened to a lot when I was researching this episode. Some are very, I don't know, the callers are able to communicate what they need and that operator is able to communicate back to them. But then some you hear and it's just like the callers are so crazy. Or like you said, the operators are difficult and it's like just a riddle kind of that like needs to get solved. And we're going to talk about a lot of different 911 calls today, but I want to talk about some of my favorite first. So on March 4th of this year, 911 dispatchers in Milwaukee got a call from a 4-year-old boy who sounded like he was just in great distress, but the reason is hilarious. So I'm going to play that really quick.
County 911, what's the emergency?
Oh, yeah. Hello?
This is Racine County 911. What's the address of the emergency?
My mom is being bad.
Okay. What's going on?
Hello? Come and get my mommy.
Okay, what's going on?
No. Come get my mommy.
Do you know your... Hi, what's going on over there?
Oh, this little one got the phone, and he's 4.
Okay.
And we're trying to catch him because he said he was going to call 911.
No, I just called the police, and I just told her to come and get my mommy. And I just told her, and I just told her to get my mommy, and I just told her to put her to jail. So leave me alone.
I ate his ice cream, so that's probably why he's calling 911.
Oh, because he ate ice cream?
Yeah, his mom ate his ice cream, and so he called 911 and was like, you need to come get her.
I get it.
Come take my mommy away.
Oh my God.
So obviously the person who answers is like, what's going on? What's going on? He says, come get my mommy. And then she said, I ate his ice cream, so that's probably why they're coming on. But then they still had to send
People,
people. And so when the officer got there and got to the house, the boy was like, I don't want her to go to jail. I just wanted some ice cream. And the department revealed that the officers surprised him with ice cream a day after the call, after he decided he didn't want the mom in trouble anymore.
God.
Isn't that incredible?
That is incredible. So
I thought it
Now
was
you
cute.
just taught him that you can call 911 and then
And
you'll
you
get
get ice
surprised with ice cream.
You better not be dialing it. Okay. And then I have one that I'm shocked we've never done for a dumbass criminal before.
Okay.
It was cracking me up.
911, what's the address of your emergency?
All over Winter Haven.
What's the address of your emergency right now? Sir? Hello?
I don't know. Too drunk. I don't know where I'm at.
Okay, what is it you're trying to report, sir?
I was just drunk driving.
You're drunk driving right now?
Yeah, all night.
Okay, well, can you
I'm
pull
actually right in front of the police department right now.
Oh,
Okay, can you pull over somewhere so an
But they
officer...
won't.
Where are you right now?
I don't know. I'm too drunk.
Okay, well, you need to pull over. Can you pull over for me?
Doing that.
Can you
Yeah.
can you pull over for me so we're going to get an officer to make contact with you? I'm showing that you're near 142nd Street Northwest. Can you look around and see for a sign? What color is your
Yeah,
vehicle?
it's right past the police department, but no one's there, so.
Sir, what color is your
Kinda crazy.
sir? What color is your vehicle?
It is red.
What kind is it?
Oh, it's F-150.
Okay, and where have you
Yeah,
pulled?
150
Where
is
have
red.
where have you pulled over to?
I don't know what street this is here, but it's right past the police station in Winter Haven. Let me ask you a question.
Okay, well, sir, I have
the
officers
local
on.
911?
No, this is Polk County Sheriff's Office. We dispatch for Winter Haven, and we have a unit coming out to you now. What is your last name?
What? He called on himself?
He called on himself.
Good for him.
You know what? Good for him, but also probably felt like the world's biggest dumbass after doing that.
Why did he do that? That's crazy.
I mean, yeah. He must have been real drunk because
Yeah.
imagine how drunk you'd have to be to
get in the car and drive, and
get in the
also,
car and drive. And to call 911.
Yeah.
Say, hello.
hello, I need to tell on myself.
I remember. Okay, so I had a client in the Bay Area, and she worked on dispatch. And I think she specifically worked for like the BART train station.
Okay.
She got a call one day, and this person was like, I need help. I need help. I'm trapped in the parking garage. I'm trapped in the parking garage. And she's like, oh my God, are you being held captive? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
The person couldn't figure out how to drive out of the parking garage.
Oh.
And so, like, literally, she had to, like, talk them through how to get out of the parking structure. Because I'm just like, I've been in parking structures before where I'm like,
This is
I'm going to
confusing.
Uber. I'm going to get out of my car
Yeah.
and just Uber.
You start to feel
Because,
trapped.
I'm like, I feel crazy. Like, I'm never going to get out of here.
Crazy.
So, again, shout out to 911 dispatchers because they hear a lot of fucking crazy shit.
Yeah.
But also shout out to the people that call, especially when they're children. A very good lesson to our Geoffs with youngins. Make sure they know about 911 or whatever your local emergency number is. I wanted to get really specific in my coffin spinner this week. So we're going to take a look at some kids who saved their parents' lives by calling 911.
Oh, I love that.
Kind of like a little good news
Good
vibe
news.
of the week.
Yeah.
And I want to start with this story from 2010. I don't have all the calls, but I do have one that I absolutely need to share. It takes place in Indiana, 2010, and centers around an incredible 5-year-old girl named Savannah. And you guys just have to hear the call. It's the best.
Hello? 911. Hold on. Excuse me? Are you there? 1, 3, 4, 4. What's wrong? What's wrong?
My dad can't hardly breathe.
Okay, hold on a second, okay?
Okay,
How old are you?
I'm 5 years old.
Okay, what's your name?
Savannah.
Okay, Savannah, hold on. I'm getting them dispatched, okay?
Okay, you need to come real fast.
Oh.
Okay, Savannah, I have them on the way. Is your daddy still awake?
Yeah.
Okay. Is your front door unlocked, Savannah?
Is the front door unlocked? No.
Okay, Savannah, can you go unlock that front door for me?
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, she's.
Don't worry, Dad.
Oh,
Okay, Savannah, is the door unlocked?
Yes.
Okay, has your daddy ever had problems like this before?
What?
Has your daddy ever had this problem before?
Yes.
Okay, has he been sick?
No.
Okay, is he still awake?
Yes.
Okay, Savannah, just make sure, just try to keep him awake, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, I have the ambulance on the way.
Okay.
I'm going to keep you on the phone, okay?
Okay. We're in our jammies and we're trying to go to bed, but can't hardly breathe.
Okay. Can he talk to you?
Dad, can you talk to me?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, tell him the ambulance is on the way.
The ambulance are on the way.
All right, Savannah, just stay on the line with me, okay?
Okay. Stay calm, Dad.
Oh.
I know you haven't had oxygen before, but...
Are you there, Savannah?
Yeah, I'm still on the phone.
Okay. Just let me know if keep him awake, okay?
Okay. You have to stay awake.
But just tell him the ambulance is on the way, so they'll be there here in a minute.
Okay. They'll be here in just a minute. The ambulance are on the way. Okay?
Just let me
He
know.
really needs oxygen.
He really needs oxygen?
Yeah. Real bad.
Real bad?
Yeah.
Okay, well, they're on the way with it, so they'll be there here in a minute. I'm just going to keep you on the line.
Okay.
Tell me if he falls asleep or anything, all right?
Okay.
Is he still awake?
Yeah.
Okay. And did you say he's been sick or anything?
Have you been sick? No.
Can you ask him if this has ever happened before?
Has this ever happened? No. So far, so good. He's still awake.
Hey, ask him if he has any kind of chest pain.
Do you have any chest pain? Yes.
Okay.
This is his first time.
Okay. I got him on the way, so...
Okay. We're in our jammies. And I'm in a TikTok, so I'll have to get dressed.
Okay.
I know what I'm going to wear, but he really needs oxygen real fast. Yes, the door's unlocked.
Okay. You tell me when you can hear the ambulance, all right?
Okay. I'm sorry, Dad.
You're doing a good job, Savannah.
Okay, his name is Frank.
His name is Frank. Oh, you're doing a good job, all right, Savannah? Just stay on the phone.
Okay.
They should be getting there any minute.
Okay. Like how many minutes?
Probably only a couple. They're on the way. Just make sure your daddy's
Probably
awake.
Okay. You have to stay awake. They'll be in a couple minutes. I can hear them.
You can hear him?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to keep you on the line until they get in the house, all right?
Okay. It's okay, Dad. It's okay.
So you still doing okay, Savannah?
Yeah, he's okay.
Okay.
I'll be in my room and I'll be putting on
Hey, Savannah, I want you to stay there with your daddy, okay?
Okay.
I need you to make sure that he stays awake, so...
Okay. I got that. And we have a dog that's really small.
So he's friendly?
He's friendly.
Okay.
He kind of barks.
He kind of barks? That's all right, though.
Lou, come on. And we have to on the way. Come on, Lulu. Come here. Hi. Come here.
Is your dad okay still?
Yeah.
Okay.
So far, so good. Okay, Lulu. It's going to be all right.
Is he still awake, Savannah?
Yeah, he's still awake.
Okay. The ambulance should be getting there any time.
Okay. And he looks like he's real shaky.
Hold on, Savannah, okay?
Okay.
Is the fireman there, Savannah?
I don't know. Yeah, they're here.
All right, so they're in the house now?
No.
Okay.
I see the red light.
All right, Savannah, just tell me when they get in the house, okay, and I'll disconnect with you.
Okay. I am real shaky too, so.
You're real shaky too?
Yeah,
Well, they're
because.
there to help your daddy, so don't be scared, okay?
Okay.
Are they there? Hey, Savannah, you did a good job, okay?
The room.
All right, Savannah, you did a good job.
It's okay, Dad. I'm gonna go put.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect, okay?
Yeah.
Oh Oh my God. She is an angel.
Isn't that the sweetest thing?
It's so incredible how calm and cool she stayed.
Way calmer than anyone
I would
know.
ever be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The dispatcher, too, Jason Bonham is his name, did an incredible job.
Oh, he was so great.
And the dad made a full recovery. It was totally
Did
fine.
he have a heart attack?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Just the sweetest little
Savannah.
voice.
Oh, she's
She's like, I'm going to put on an outfit, okay? I'm just wearing our pajamas.
okay, I have a tank top on.
God.
I mean, what an awful situation that she had to go
Witness,
through.
yeah. Well, I think she got a lot of praise from it. I think I guess, went viral. I mean,
Yeah.
this also was in 2010, which I just realized. I'm like, oh, she's 20 now.
Oh my god.
Because she was 5 then.
I wonder what she's doing now.
know.
Like what footsteps she's
Does anyone
following.
know Savannah?
Yeah. Oh my god, I love her.
Yeah, love.
Wow.
And then next we have the story of Ion Juman. And he was 8 years old when he found his mom lying unconscious on the ground at their home in Soho, Birmingham, in the UK. He didn't freak out. He also remained totally calm, trying to wake his mother up. He asked his Alexa, I guess, to call 999, which is the emergency service line in the UK. He ended up on the phone with a dispatcher who got an ambulance to the home. And I'm not exactly sure what caused his mom to pass out, but I do know that she was transported to the local hospital. She was treated and seemed to recover just fine. But I guess the officers were so impressed by the 8-year-old's quick thinking to ask the Alexa for help, that he not only received a medal from the department, but he and his mom got to go on a tour of the facilities to see where the 999 call came through. Which I thought was so sweet.
Kids these days with their technology is crazy.
It is. Well, because now they could probably be like, hey, blank, call the police. I don't want to say it in case one of the computers.
Oh,
picks it
yeah,
up.
yeah.
Have you ever called the police? Accidentally? Or when I was little, I did.
I called the police. The non-emergency line though. When I've called a non-emergency a couple times.
I have too, yeah.
When someone wrote in Sharpie all over my car.
I love that story.
No one ever showed up. I was working at the mall.
Also a crazy reason to call the police.
Oh, I know. But okay.
You were young though.
Yeah, I was young. I was working at the mall during the holidays, so it was crazy. The parking was crazy, and I walked out and my car was a little white car. Someone wrote on it, "Nice parking, asshole," all big in Sharpie all over the car. And I was like, oh my god. I was like, what
I still have a picture of it somewhere.
do I do? I know, so do I. I was like, what the fuck do I do? I was like, I can't drive home with this on my car. What do I do? It's
hairspray, girl.
Well, okay, so I Googled it and they're like hairspray. And at the time, I think I was first dating Cisco. So I had my little bag of going to his house and whatever. And I had hairspray, and hairspray took it off.
Did the trick.
Perfect. But yeah, they never showed up.
I hope they listen to us now.
Oh my God.
They're listening right now and say,
you know who you are. Which also, by the way, my parking was not bad. It was the person who was there before.
So
had
parked a little over, so you had to park a little over. Yeah. Okay, and then
wait, when did you call 911?
When I was little.
Okay.
I did it one time too when I was I feel like I think there was an instance where I did it when I was 10 or maybe 11, and I blamed probably my little brother or sister.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well.
Yep.
Sorry, Ian.
Sorry to my brother that edits this video. Now we have another story that took place on October 28th of 2021. A 9-year-old named Jaylene Barbosa Brandow from Brockton, Massachusetts, found herself in an emergency. Her dad was screaming for help, her mother passed out, and her 7-year-old sister, along with herself, were all in grave danger after a carbon monoxide disaster in their home. Some of the details are a little murky because they were different depending on the sources, but apparently this 9-year-old girl grabbed her dad's phone and held it up to his face to get the Face ID after both of her parents had passed out, and unlocked the phone, and then she FaceTimed a relative asking what to do and asking for help. Others say she just dialed 911.
Okay.
But regardless, she was able to get herself and her 7-year-old sister out of the house while emergency services made their way over. And she ended up saving her entire family's lives.
Oh.
When they got there, the authorities were like, these were extremely dangerous levels of carbon monoxide poisoning. Like, it could have killed them all because her mom and dad were both passed out by then.
Yeah.
And I don't know how these little girls
Wow.
made it, but I thought it was so
You'd
sweet.
think that the little girls would be passed out first.
Yeah,
because body
lungs,
weight. And,
yeah, for sure. But they didn't.
Wow.
All very sweet stories, but
Mhm.
this is Obituary, so I wanted to end on a little spooky note because there's
Okay.
some 911 urban legends out there. Okay, the first story is the story of the Phantom Caller, and this is a story that I guess has made the rounds plenty of times before, where operators will report receiving repeated 911 calls from a number that's traced back to an empty lot. Like the house, it'll be where like a house was that burnt down in a really bad fire.
No.
A lot of times it'll just be like static and breathing. But imagine, girls, I know there's a bunch of 911 dispatchers who listen to the show.
Yeah.
So imagine listening or getting the call and it's just like where a tragedy or something happened.
Yeah.
Okay, this one comes from Maine, and apparently this happened in 1994, where an operator answered a call from a young woman crying. She gave a partial address and then whispered, "He's coming," before the line went dead.
No.
Cops rushed to the house only to find an abandoned property. The twist, a woman had been murdered there 2 years earlier.
No.
Same name, same voice on the old case tapes.
Hell no. Scary.
And then there's one more urban legend, and apparently this is like a common one amongst dispatchers, but a call comes in reporting a car crash at a location on Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles.
Huh.
Cops arrive, nothing's there.
Okay.
But then 4 hours later, a crash occurs in that exact same spot. So they're like, was this like a different timeline? And the call was logged before the crash actually happened.
And this happens or this just happened?
I don't know if it's like an urban legend. I think that kind
Yeah.
of floats around dispatchers.
That's
but
freaky. Like,
yeah.
yeah, timeline mix up.
yeah.
Oh my God.
That was interesting. Fun little
Wow.
coffin spinner this week.
Heartwarming.
Yeah.
For the
a
most
heartwarming
part.
coffin spinner.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, all tied to really traumatic things like her parents almost dying of carbon monoxide poisoning and heart attacks.
Yeah.
But like amazing that they're able to.
And sometimes it's not what you're dealt, it's how you handle it. And if that's not a life lesson, I don't know what is.
Hear that? All right. We're going to take our headphones off and take one more quick break. And when we come back, Madison's going to tell us what had her spinning in her coffin this week.
Yes, I am.
We'll be right back. And we're back. Girly, what had you spinning in your coffin this week?
Okay, so Spencer, you just walked us through those incredible stories of children saving lives and being so quick thinking and using 911, and it was incredible. But I also kind of want to talk about kids this week.
Okay.
It actually goes kind of hand in hand with it. I want to talk about kids who didn't save somebody's life, but honored their memory in a pretty incredible way.
Okay.
Okay. So I want to talk about newsboys. And I know it's going to make sense. I'm telling you.
Think of those hats.
I was in Cisco's closet last night because I know that he
I
had
know
some,
I know he has some.
and I couldn't find any. I was like, Cisco, I need a newsboy hat. I need to wear one. And he's like, I think I might have one. I couldn't find it.
To go skanking in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So newsboys, these kinds of newsboys, the ones who were like shouting on corners in the 19th century, like hustling.
Hey,
No.
Mr. Grab your paper.
Extra, extra.
Extra. Read all about it.
Read all about it. I've always seen them like depicted in movies and
Read all about
books.
it. I've got a story and I'm here to shout it. I think I was in a play when I was little where I was a newsboy.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, honestly, like those, from what I've learned about newsboys, I've learned a lot. I feel like they're depicted correctly. You know, like those like
Newsboys and chimney
scrappy.
sweeps. We know who you are.
Yeah.
You're represented in a very true to tone way.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
It seemed like it, like scrappy, but they were fiercely loyal and incredibly mature when it came to death. If one of their fellow newsboys died, they did not let it go unnoticed. It was like front page news in their eyes. And I have to say, I was talking about this with Cisco last night, looking for a page boy hat. And I was explaining to him, he was like, what are you going to talk about this week? And I was explaining to him this wonderful article I found on jester.com. I'll link it about newsboys. It's like J-Stir or something, but I think it's Jester.
J-Store.
Is it J-Store? What is it? It's J-S-T-O-R. I think it's Jester.
It's not Jester.
It's not? But isn't a jester like a joker? Wait.
It's an organization.
What does it stand for?
For journal storage. It says Chaser. Stands for journal storage, a protected electronic archive of leading journals across many academic disciplines.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
Not fucking Jester.
I thought I was on Jester. I thought it was like, oh, this. I really did think like this place had the vibe. Like, yes.
Girl pussy, too.
I know.
You're like, on
In this
Jester.
little jumpsuit. Well, I read this wonderful article on jester.com about newsboy funerals. So I want to shout them out. Because without them writing about newsboy funerals, I wouldn't have found this like 27-page report I read on Newsboys.
Okay.
Or other articles and archives that I found, which I guess makes sense because they did have a lot of journal storage on that website. So there you go. But it is very interesting and it's pretty heartwarming too. Okay. So who are the newsboys? Like I said, newsboys depicted in movies and art and whatnot. It seems pretty accurate. They were scrappy little kids that yelled extra, extra on street corners.
Selling newspapers.
Sure. They could be as young as 6 years old. Selling newspapers in cities all over the United States.
Yeah, kids used to work.
Big time. In the late 1800s and early 1900s. I believe the average age was about 7 to 15, but again, some were younger, some were a little older. They were almost always male, but there were some news girls, but rarely. And they were essentially like freelancers. I guess they would buy papers in bulk sometimes and then would sell them, or newspapers would hire them to get their newspaper out.
Well, it's kind of like how people became newspaper boy, like delivery.
Yeah, totally. Their backgrounds were almost always pretty rough. They were either orphaned or working to support their families at such young ages, and many of them lived on the street or in extreme poverty. And in the mid to late 1800s, they opened up homes in cities known as newsboy lodging houses for newsboys to stay in for just like pennies to be able to sleep at.
Okay.
They were a very close-knit group, and there were a ton of newsboys. Like there were hundreds of thousands around the U.S. But if you're an avid Geoff, you should know by now that life expectancy during the 1800s and early 1900s was kind of grim. The average life expectancy in the U.S. was only around 40 years old. For kids, especially living in not great conditions, like on the streets, and probably malnourished and not getting like great, like sanitary wise, like just the conditions were not great.
Yeah.
They were exposed to so much more life and diseases, and their life expectancy was extra grim. And also living and working on the street exposed them to a lot of car accidents and like horse-drawn wagon accidents killing them. Many newsboys didn't even make it to their teenage years. So what happened when one of them died? The other newsboys heard everything. Like it was just this little network of newsboys, and they were programmed to share the news. So if something happened to a newsboy, every newsboy heard about it. And once they found out, they literally would start taking their hats off and passing them around. They would walk through diners, cafes, stores, people on the streets asking for coins, and their goal was to raise enough money for a coffin, a burial plot, and maybe even a hearse and some flowers if they could swing it. These kids made like 15 cents a day and somehow made it possible to pull together real, proper burials for their fallen newsboy. And on occasion, if the particular newsboy who had died was like well known or really well liked, a newspaper editor or people in town would also contribute.
Oh.
I'll read some newspaper clippings, but their biggest thing was like at the time, especially because they didn't have any money or even real homes, they knew that when they died, they would probably end up in a potter's field, which meant they would be in a mass grave with a bunch of different people. And they knew that that wasn't how they wanted to end up. So that was like their whole thing behind it. Like, we at least need to give our fellow newsboy a proper goodbye. And these kids are like 6, 7, 8, 9, pulling together money for a proper
You think second grade is hard? Bitch, try fucking work in the newspaper corner. Then you got to go down to Pinky's Diner with your fucking newspaper cap and get collections for your brethren's funeral.
Yeah. They're so...
No wonder they smoked cigarettes when they were like 7.
My God, let them. They
it.
needed
Let them.
Let them. God. Okay, so I read a paper written by Vincent D. Girolamo for Princeton University called Newsboys' Funerals, Tales of Sorrow and Solidarity in Urban America. And it's about 27 pages long, but it was so interesting. It went by so fast. I'll link it. It's so much more well-written than what I'm delivering to you guys and goes more into depth about everything. But something that stuck out to me when I was reading it was that they talked about obituaries. And on page 23 of that paper, it says, quote, running obituaries was another way newspapers paid tribute to newsboys. Most big city dailies publish death notices only of their more prominent citizens, but newsboys were the exception. And then it goes on and says, quote, some newsboys took the initiative of writing the obituaries themselves and submitting them to the periodicals they sold.
Wow.
In July of 1900, the editors of Success magazine ran one such notice saying, quote, this morning, one of our faithful newsboys handed us the following, which we publish in all its originality. And I'm going to read it. It's short, but it is so misspelled. It is not written well. It is like a 8-year-old wrote it. Okay, it says, Joseph Rathburn, better known as Whistlin' Joe, died last night. He was a delicate little feller. Oh, I was like, what is that? It's Whistlin' Joe. He was a delicate little feller and was sick only a week. Us fellers wanted him to go to the hospital or have a doctor, but he didn't believe in them, he said. His folks was dead, but he was working hard to get an education and a big musician like he said his father was. But he couldn't make it go, and we are all awful sorry he died because we had great hopes for him. It is written, look at how it's written. It's like, awful.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But they published it like that, and like, I thought it was so interesting that, yes, we knew death notices, of course, around that time took precedence over like a full obituary.
Yeah.
But they made exceptions for the newsboys. They just knew the importance of respect in death and like didn't seem scared of it.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that we've talked about where like death in the United States is such a removed thing now, and it's refreshing.
It's like refreshing.
Yeah, that in some ways it wasn't. Okay, on top of obituaries, they would hold makeshift wakes where other little boys would come and pay their respects to their friend. They would take their hats off, have their heads down, and were just little grown men. And I can't help but picture the little rascals, honestly. Like, I feel like that's the vibe. But the day of the funeral, sometimes hundreds of newsboys would come together and walk in a procession behind a coffin. If they could afford a hearse or a horse-drawn wagon, they would do that. Typically, newspapers were buried in, like I was saying, the potter's fields or paupers' cemeteries. And again, their biggest fear wasn't death, it was just not ending up in a potter's field in a mass grave. And again, the JSTOR article and the paper by Vincent gave quite like a few real life examples and stories of real documented cases where this all happened, where all these little boys put together funerals for their fallen friends. And I have to read you some because they're so sweet. And on the first page of that paper that I read, the Newsboy funerals, and honestly, every article kind of references this boy Skinny. So the Boston Globe wrote about him in 1890, and they talked about how his fraternity of newsboy friends gave up their meals for a full day to buy him flowers for his funeral. Then there was this exchange with a florist that the Boston Globe wrote about. So it was the florist and the newsboys. And they wanted the flowers that they got for Skinny's funeral to say Skinny on the like funeral wreath.
Flowers?
Yeah, like embossed in the,
yeah. Like on funeral wreaths, how they have like the ribbon across it. Yeah.
And it just is so, it sounds like it's out of a play, but it's real. It says, "And Mister, we want his name fixed in it somehow," said the spokesman. "Certainly," said the obliging clerk.
No, they said certainly.
"Certainly," said the obliging clerk. "What's his name?" "We, alas, called him Skinny, 'cause he was a lean little rat." The clerk demurred against embalming in flowers this somewhat striking cognomen on the ground that the feelings of the family might be hurt. "He ain't got no family," stoutly maintained his comrades. "He belongs to us fellers as much as anybody, and we won't have nothing but Skinny. That or nothing. We pays for it, and we got a right to boss it. Who'd know who he was by any other name? That's Skinny."
Cute.
And then I have from the Chicago Chronicle in 1895. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but this is for Peggy Sharbuckle. It says, "Peggy is laid to rest. A newsboy's funeral. The body of Peggy Sharbuckle, the one-legged newsboy who was suffocated in the Argyle lodging house fire Friday night, was given Christian burial yesterday in Forest Home Cemetery, while a delegation of his comrades surrounded the grave to pay the last honors. The newsboys are especially solicitous this fact be made prominent because of the statement in a morning newspaper yesterday Peggy would be buried in the Potter's Field. None of the boys was ever buried in the Potter's Field," said Jimmy the jockey, "and none of them ever will be. We've always raised enough money to give them a good funeral and a grave in a regular cemetery where no other corpses won't be put on top of them. We wish you would say so. The newsboys probably have less with which they can assist each other than any other class in the community, and they are probably more liberal in giving from their scanty purse than are others whose means multiply theirs 1,000-fold. Saturday afternoon, when most of the boys had gone home, $40 were raised for Peggy's funeral within 2 hours. 2 weeks ago, the same amount was readily secured for the internment in Calvary Cemetery of the remains of Dick the Rat. At the time of the Big Lake storm in the spring, the burial of Waffles was similarly provided for. And when I heard Waffles, I was like, I've heard Waffles before. I know Waffles is a newsboy, and I've heard it before. So then I went back to that paper that I read, and sure enough, it says on page 21, the custom of buying family plots was also popular at this time. When Chicago newsboy Old Jacobson, better known as Young Waffles, died of exposure on a government pier in 1894 at the age of 25, he was found with only one possession, a water-soaked deed to a grave in a family plot in Graceland Cemetery. Except for his spot, it was fully occupied by his parents and 4 siblings. Okay.
Sad.
Very sad. But then it goes on. Nevertheless, it was Waffles' comrades, not his family, who laid him to rest. A soliciting committee of 3 boys secured the coffin at cost and raised money for other expenses. The Chicago Tribune reported that less than half the city's usual number of newsboys was on the streets the day of his funeral. Waffles had been a fixture downtown for 15 years, and 100 of the older news vendors gathered at the morgue for a final look. Also in attendance were several ex-newsboys who had become regular employees of the newspaper. But then it goes on and says, viewings were rarely held at city morgues, but apparently an exception was made in this case. Waffle's funeral is also noteworthy in that his fellow newsboys did not deem it necessary to invite a minister to conduct the service. Despite the massive turnout and a funeral that included a hearse, casket, and all the trimmings, no clergymen were in attendance. The boys said they were afraid to ask a minister for fear of being refused. They conducted the ceremony themselves. As the casket was lowered into the grave, one of the pallbearers picked up a handful of earth, threw it on the coffin, and said, "Dust to dust." The others followed his example, said the Tribune, and said, "Dust to dust."
Ugh.
These little boys are
Taking
holding
care of one another.
funerals.
I love it.
I could go on and on. There are literally thousands of these stories, like of just newsboy funerals and how they always took care of their own, did not want to be buried in any potter's field.
That.
I know. Like just these
Potter's
little
Field.
kids. The Potter's Field. Yeah.
My God, incredible.
I know. Incredible kids.
Yeah, it's cool to see all the different avenues that we take.
I know.
But it is. It's cool to see. Well, I love that they did that. And it's so important to honor somebody who has passed. And what better way than with an obituary?
What better way?
Okay, this one was sent to us a few times. It's for Irisha Hammond. It is with heavy hearts that we announce the passing of Irisha Hammond, who was born on January 17th, 1988 in Terre Haute, Indiana, United States. Irisha peacefully departed this world on April 28th of 2025. Irisha was a dedicated mother to 4 beautiful children: Nai, Uana, Antonisha, and Shittyhead. Her love for her children knew no bounds, and she always put their needs above anything else. Professionally, Irisha was a talented coochie licker at Professional. She was highly regarded by her colleagues for her work ethic and dedication to her craft. Tragically, Irisha's life was cut short due to talking shit. Her passing has left a void in the lives of those who knew her, but her memory will forever live on in the hearts of her loved ones. May Irisha Hammond rest in peace, knowing that she was loved and cherished by many.
Girl, what? Shitty head and coochie licker?
I don't know. It must be AI or something. But people had sent it to us because it was like making the rounds on Facebook and people were getting all upset. And it's like, obviously this cannot be real.
It might be.
we've
never
seen
know.
Wilder. But it was posted on an actual obituary website.
Oh,
and then
shit.
it's since been taken down.
Oh, I love that.
Because someone probably just fucking submitted that. And I'm like, either someone did that to be shady to this girl.
Yeah.
Which, sorry for saying your name if that's the truth. But yeah.
That can't be real, but maybe it is. I mean,
Who fucking knows?
who knows? But okay, rest in peace. What's her name? Irisha.
Rest in peace, girl.
Damn.
Who do you got?
Well, I have a sweet one.
I have a newspaper boy.
I got a newspaper boy. No, I have a woman named Anne King. On September 10th, 2020, Anne King passed in the presence of her family. This is her obituary in her own words. Damn, I'm dead. With my fascination for the unusual and flair for the dramatic, I, of course, had to have a rare form of cancer, my second dance with Big C.
Oh.
I did, however, manage to pack a lot of adventure into life, which began for me on June 7th, 1935 in Oakland, California. I was named Anne for my paternal grandmother, Anne Black King Hathaway, for my maternal grandmother, Jessie Hathaway Brand, and the King came, as you'd expect, from my father, Carl, removed from our family by death at age 40 when I was only 2 years old.
Oh, removed from our family by death.
I know. That's kind of harsh. Piedmont Grammar and High Schools, UC Berkeley, Secretarial School, marriage, blah, blah, blah. 2 children, Dan Benedict and Scott Benedict. No more blah. Moved to Humboldt County in time for the '64 flood and a divorce. Things picked up later on, fortunately. In spite of their teen year hijinks, I adored those kids. My only grandchild, Dan's daughter, Alex, was a special blessing. The 2010 death of my younger brother, Scott, tore a huge hole in my life. I had 3 cousins scattered here and there. We never did too much talking anyway, but don't think twice, it's all right. Overall, what a carnival I lived in. art, music, dance, world travel, theater, questionable relationships, and enduring friendships. I was actually amazed at some of the stuff I pulled off. I was an unrepentant foodie, loving eating, cooking, and sharing the bounty of my garden and culinary efforts. Tending my garden worked to keep me grounded. I had enormously satisfying theater roles over a 20-year span. I took prizes with my art. I survived marriage and being single. I sang the Mozart Requiem in a 150-voice choir behind a symphony orchestra, an experience I treasured the rest of my life. In my early 40s, I drove across the U.S. and back by myself, camping and staying in youth hostels along the way. Met some fascinating fellow travelers on all sorts of ages and countries. I got a degree in English at age 59, traveled to Sumatra, and Kalimantan alone as a graduation gift, and then went to seek my fortune in the publishing world in Santa Rosa, where I lived for 5 years. While there, I traveled to Guatemala, first as a tourist and then back to help build a school. Among other adventures, I was privileged to enjoy 3 memorable 3-week stays in Paris. I dared my fears and ignorance and won most of the time. My favorite adventures usually involved trying something I'd never done before. All the better if it involved a pastry shop, a foreign marketplace, or an art supply source. I felt honored to have been part of a group of dynamic women, the heirloom tomatoes of locally delicious fame, and to have been involved in the start and on the first board of directors of Ferndale Repertory Theater. My liberal, questioning, spiritual nature found its home at the Humboldt Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, where it was truly okay to color outside dogmatic lines. I gained a 14-year reprieve after breast cancer. Now there was something to be truly thankful for. Who knows where the last cancer experience came from? Did I piss off a muse? Throughout all of this, my frequently harried and stunningly persistent little soul demanded to be known, and I worked for years to free her. I wished I'd paid more attention to her, for she richly rewarded me whenever I did. I worked hard to find the clear stream beneath the tangled surface, and wasted far too much of my precious life doing what I thought someone else expected me to do. If only I'd known way back then what I thought I knew in my later years. I had first-hand knowledge of what quietly awesome goodness the following organizations are doing for our community. If you feel like remembering me in any way, please consider a donation to Hospice of Humboldt, Food for People, or the Humboldt Unitarian Universalist Fellowship in Arcata.
Aw.
What a sweet woman.
Sweetheart.
I know.
Love her.
Love her life.
And love how she wrote that.
I know.
Cute obituary.
I think I'm leaning towards self-written. I don't know.
Yeah, we love self-written.
I know.
I think about that, but then I'm like, the pressure.
The pressure and like trying not to sound too like...
Too much like a dumbass.
Very true.
Speaking of, we have spun in our coffins.
We have bitched our obituaries, baby.
It means it's time for some dumb-ass criminals. And I love this gal. She's a fucking whack job. I can read it on my phone because it never wants to load on my iPad. This is about 36-year-old Kristen Marie Spearman, and she recently got charged with 3rd-degree felony stalking.
Oh, no.
This woman is fucking nuts. This is from People. Quote, a Texas man made a startling discovery when he opened a package left on his porch. The 42-year-old man returned to his Beverly Hills home on Friday night, June 13th, to find a gift from Bath & Body Works that was sent to him by his ex-girlfriend, according to a press release from the Beverly Hills Police Department, obtained by People. This is Beverly Hills, Texas. Inside the package was a photo of his ex, 36-year-old Kristen Marie Spearman of Waco, holding what appears to be a marriage license, showing them married and officiated by a local reverend.
What?
The package also contained a copy of the marriage certificate filed with the McLennan County Clerk's Office. According to police, the man reported that he and Spearman had been in a relationship and obtained a marriage license on or about June 2nd. After the license was issued, the pair got into an argument and the man told Spearman he did not want to be in a relationship with her. An investigation found that Spearman, pursuant to the scheme of obtaining a marriage certificate, convinced the Reverend to certify the victim and Kristen in the holy union of matrimony without the knowledge of the victim and his required presence, police said. So... This bitch Fucking, they were like together, right? Like maybe we'll get married or whatever. They got the marriage certificate together, and then he dumped her, and then she said,
We're married.
surprise.
We're married.
Surprise. She was arrested at her home and was
Good.
charged with third-degree felony stalking and booked into McLennan County Jail, where she's being held under a $10,000 bond. The police department said in a release they will not be disclosing the identity of the reverend to prevent harassment and influence.
What the hell?
Can you fucking imagine breaking up with somebody and then getting a marriage license dropped?
We're married.
Surprise.
Surprise. That's crazy.
I know.
Oh my God. Okay.
Nut job.
Well, I have a 49-year-old woman named Ellen Ann McGehee from Alpena, Arkansas. And she was arrested after a string of events that started with her attacking a business using a 10-foot-long PVC pipe.
Okay.
Deputies showed up to the scene and tried to talk to her, but she told them her clothes were all wet and that she needed to change. And so naturally, instead of heading home, she just went into somebody else's house that wasn't hers. She entered a nearby home uninvited and started helping herself to the homeowner's wardrobe. Okay, but when deputies followed her into the house, the actual homeowner answered the door and was like, she doesn't fucking live here. Like, what the fuck? Meanwhile, McGehee is locked in the homeowner's master bedroom or primary bedroom. The deputies knock on the door, like, get out of there. Like, what are, you're under arrest. What are you doing? And she goes, don't come in here. I'm naked. Which, yes, she was. She was mid-changing into the homeowner's clothes.
Psycho.
Fucking psycho. The homeowner, I guess, told police that this wasn't the first time McGehee had entered their home. And she was cuckoo crazy. There was like a bit of a struggle and even a handcuff slip. But then they finally got her into custody. But she's facing felony residential burglary plus a handful of misdemeanors like criminal mischief, resisting arrest, fleeing on foot, and disorderly conduct. She's out on a $25,000 bond, but she had 8 previous felony arrests in Boone and Carroll counties. But
lock her up.
Yeah. I just love,
Yes.
don't come in, I'm naked.
Don't do it.
Girl, you're a criminal.
Yeah. What a crazy ass. Can you imagine someone fucking walking into your house and putting on your clothes?
I know. I'd be like, girl, what?
If they walked into your house, they'd be like, yuck.
They'd be like, this is why I'm naked. I hate everything.
And that's it for the week. We'll see you next week for some more coffin spinners
And obituaries.
and dumb
Ass
criminals. Extra, extra.